It's E.B.K, E.B.K, E.B.K. It's E.B.K every day, all day to the day I die. All day it's E.B.K, E.B.K, E.B.K.
Was good, gente? As you guys can see, we back, so let's get to it. So with all that being said, as you guys can see on the thumbnail, man, we got a good one. We're gonna be talking on a red on red for pretty much smashing on the homies BM, and pretty much, as you guys know, man, that's a no when you're participating with any organization. I'm pretty sure even with the South that they got reglas when it comes to certain homies baby mamas and even girlfriends at times. Some people are real possessive with certain females, so it's a no. So pretty much that's what I'm gonna be speaking on this video, so I hope you guys like it. If you guys do, make sure to hit a thumbs up for your boy, make sure to subscribe, hit that follow, drop comments to let me know what you guys think, right? And if you guys happen to have similar stories like this one, because I know there's a lot of homeboys and homies that for some weird reason, man, they get a thing for the homies baby mamas and stuff like that. So when I was young, and I'm pretty sure there was a lot of you guys just like me, right? When I was young, I didn't really care, if a certain female happened to be dating someone, or if they had kids with somebody, right? I honestly didn't care if they did or if they didn't. So this female, I ain't gonna lie, man, she happened to be a little baddie. She was cool, she was bad. And one of my boys, man, one of my homeboys from my neighborhood, was dating her at that time, right? And even though she had a kid from someone from Northside, like, I was like hitting her up at the same time, and I was a scumbag, I ain't gonna lie to you guys, man. I was a scumbag, and tenía pegue, güey, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Si tenía pegue, and I know there's gonna be some people like, man, well, English, what does pegue mean, Well, I had game, bro. And I ended up pretty much snatching that from one of the homies from my neighborhood, even though she had a kid with someone from a different hood. So there was already kind of issues, So old boy was a little butthurt. Of course, he did apparently lose his V card to this female. So she ended up leaving him to get with old boy, with your boy, this panza. And I was a scumbag like that. I'll remind you, I'm not too proud of my past, but I used to do that to some of the homeboys, especially if they felt like they were the shit, So I ended up dating this female, and all these letters start coming out, right, where the baby daddy was like set tripping. And I remind you, he's part of another neighborhood that happens to be like one of the deepest hoods in Watsonville. And we don't really get along, Clifford and that hood Chicos at that time, they weren't really getting along. So there was tension between them hoods. So I'm starting to see all these letters, man, where this individual's calling me an apartment gangster. And then pretty much we ain't with the business, me and that other homeboy from the hood. Like I remind you, she was also dating a younger homie from my neighborhood. So he was over here dissing me and him. Like, this, you fools over here, they're thinking that we're doing some type of tag team. No disrespect to the females or nothing like that. But it wasn't like that. I'll just put that straight up. It wasn't like that. I ended up snatching it from the homie. And I'm going through these letters, and I'm seeing, okay, this fool's over here disrespecting not just me, but the neighborhood. So we're like, man, fuck this fool. So me and another homie, man, we write him a letter. I'm not even gonna lie to you. We write old boy a letter, and we're like, man, fuck you, woo woo. And I know that shit pissed him off. And you know what? Even though we did all that, I gotta give old boy his props and respects, right? Because when he got out, the first thing he ended up doing was pulling up. The pull up was real. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of you guys, especially if you guys already have kids and stuff like that. And if you guys happen to go through some shit, more than likely you guys will pull up too, So he ends up pulling up on my brother's pad, and we're not there at the time, right? So he's right there chilling with my brother. So me and the homies end up showing up. So when we see this fool, we're like, oh hell yeah, we're over here thinking this fool done called us apartment gangsters and all this shit, right? Like, disrespected us. So we want to max this fool out. So we're thinking we came up, right? So we run up the stairs and we're like, "What's up, G?" And one of the homies that was with us that day, it was me and Grande, and the homie Restless. He ends up jamming up Restless because they didn't know each other, right? So when we shake hands, we don't bring up the whole issue right there and then. We're like in standby to see who's actually gonna be the first one to start it. So when he shakes the homie's hand, he tells him his neighborhood, and we're just like looking at each other, right? Because at this time, you guys gotta understand where we're at. There's another neighborhood as well, which is City Hall that happened to be around. So we don't really want to bring up like some tension. And even though the City Hallers don't really get along with Chicos neither, I mean at that time it could have gone bad, with the other homie to a little bit more extreme. So we waited, and you can feel the tension, bro. It was crazy. My brother ended up fucking wanting to go in a booney, and I ended up telling him shit. I was like, "Fool, what the fuck's this fool doing here, G?" You know what I'm saying? He's all like, "Oh, that's the homie, woo woo." And I'm like, "Well, that's not our homie, bro." And I remind you, my brother's not from the neighborhood at this time, so me and he don't really have a say so, like at the end of the day, we're over here like tripping on him. So we end up telling this fool like, "Hey, well, we're gonna go on a booney to see if he was gonna ride with us." Me and the homie were like, "If this fool doesn't go, we're gonna have to smash him. Like, we're gonna have to put hands on this fool." And I know like a lot of people, like, you guys are like, "Oh, you're not supposed to smash on a homeboy or jump him." Fuck that, And what's on, homie? My neighborhood has a policy, homie, where if one gets off, we all get off. And I know they're gonna be like, "Damn, homie, well, what about the fair ones?" They were really rare, homie, when you would get a fair one in Watsonville with certain neighborhoods, bro. And you gotta understand, there's homies getting stuck. But that's a different story, man. That's a whole different red on red. So we end up going on a booney, man. And this fool jumps on, bro. So we're like, what the fuck? Like, this fool's really with the activity, right? So we end up going towards like the boonies, and when we go to the boonies, it's still quiet, bro. Like, there's still tension because we're just like, we're here in the back plotting because old boy was over there fucking calling us apartment gangsters and shit like that, right? So we're like, "Man, what's up with this vato?" Like, man, this fool thinks he's slick. And I'm pretty sure that old boy felt it too, because I mean, come on, bro. Like, he's the one writing these letters. I rewrote him back. So I mean, none of us are stupid, right? So then out of nowhere, this fool starts having a conversation with me and the homie, and like, he brings up like, "Hey, pinche conejo, like, hey, bro, like, you're a player, homie." And I'm like, "What do you mean, G? Like, what the fuck you mean by that?" He's like, "Oh, you're a player, homie. Like, you done slept with most of my exes." And I'm like, "Oh, well, fuck, homie. What's on is small, G. Like, what's on is small, homie. So that's gonna tend to happen, And especially if they're bad, well, I mean, dispense off. There's a lot of homeboys that are gonna be trying to get at that." And he's like, "Nah, I'm not even tripping." But what I trip out on though, he's like, that you also dated both my sisters. So now when he says that, bro, I know he's tripping, right? I'm like, "What the fuck?" Well, first off, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about, G. I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, he's all like, "Well, you end up." I'm not gonna say their names because I mean, I don't want to, put two and two together for certain individuals. But one of them was like, "Well, that's old girl, and old girl is the other one." And I'm like, "Well, they don't look like each other, And he's all like, "Nah, well, they got different dads and shit like that." I was like, "Oh, well, this pants out, bro, I mean, it is what it is." But now that we're talking about that shit, bro, he's all like, because he also, when he said that shit, he's also like, "And you also dated my baby mama." So I was like, when he said that shit, I was like, bro, "I'm glad you bring that up, So I was like, "What's up with all this apartment gangster, G?" You know what I mean? And he's all like, "Well, fuck, homie, you guys are over there smashing on my BM, Like, what the fuck you expect?" And then he had also said that pretty much one of the homies from the hood, the other one, right, the younger dude, that I guess apparently in his letters, he was over there telling them that he was over there, I'll just say he was doing some foul shit, Like, he was doing some foul shit where anyone would have got pissed, you know what I mean? So that's why he was got out of his way and actually dissing the whole hood, so that it would be something bigger than what it was. But he didn't mean that shit, you know. He ended up telling us like, "Hey, bro, I didn't mean that shit about the whole apartment gangsters. A lot of you guys are hella cool, you know what I'm saying? And I'm here to fix it." So when he said that, we were like, oh, "Okay, homie." So we pulled over and we ended up maxing him out, bro. But before we maxed him out, it was the way that he did it, bro. Because like in our reality, most of the times when we beat up fools up there, and if they're not from our hood, bro, we end up leaving them. You know, there was another occasions where we left other fools from Northside as well, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, they were from that hood too, where we did end up leaving them in the boonies and shit like that. But old boy ended up like pulling out a filero, and we honestly thought that we were gonna do something hella foul to him, right? Because after he pulled that shit out, we were like, well, okay, this fool really wants to take it to that next level. And he ended up putting that shit down, bro. You know, so me and the homie Grande like looked at each other like, what the fuck? Like this fool's actually, he pulled the filero down, and he's willing to run up a fair one. Like he said that he'll give us we're gonna run a fair fade, and that it was gonna be good. You know, like, well, it wasn't fair because we're still gonna jump his ass, but it was gonna be like, hey, I'm here to get my little baka out the way, and it's Gucci. So old boy ended up fucking getting his baka, bro. We did stomp him out. I'm not even gonna lie to you. We gave him a couple of rounds, and we did not leave him, homie. I'll tell you this right now, bro. This is one of the occasions where we ended up actually picking up the homie, bro, and we gave him his props. Like, hey, bro, it's good, G. You know, like you did your thing, homie, and we'll fix the rest of it. You know, like with the rest of the homies that it pretty much letting him know that he was in the good, homie, that he had fixed the situation. But we did tell him though, like, hey, are we gonna be hearing about this shit? Because there's certain homies that go cry. Like, let's be quite honest, bro. They show up to their little spots with their homies and shit, and they're maxed out, and they're like, fuck, man, haz el paro, vato, you know? So this fool ended up keeping it G, homie, and he did tell us, like, hey, bro, this is between us, and it is what it is, homie. After that, me and old boy became actually really good friends, bro. Where we were smashing females together. You know what I mean? He would bring one of his girl and his homegirl, and we would just post up on my pad because he used to live like right behind me, bro. He used to live right there on Peace Park. And fucking, but it was a trip though, because in our reality, man, I remember that we would talk about certain occasions, right, when these letters were coming out. You gotta remember, like, the little younger homie from the neighborhood, which happens to be a big homie now, right? This fool was complaining a lot, like, hey, man, because I believe he was actually scared of old boy. You know, that old boy was gonna max his ass out because he was more around my age. And even though that little homie was a big boy, he was still a little wet behind the ears. I'll just put it like that, you know. So he was making it a big fuzz with the other homies and stuff. And there was conversations, bro, where allegedly we were gonna hurt the individual, you know, for disrespecting the neighborhood. And this is something that happens a lot, man. Not just in Watson, man, and I believe in every city, because there is some baby mamas out there that se miran bien, vato, you know. And I know there's a couple of homies that were like, well, that fool ain't taking care of her or giving her the attention she needs. I'm gonna give it to her, you know. Well, hey, you guys gotta understand, when you guys are under a certain organization and shit like that, it can really go bad, man, when you mess around with people's family members or even exes, you know, at times. So that's something to be aware of. And a lot of times, man, when red on red happens, it's because of a female. So be trucha on who you're saying what's up to, especially if you don't know and if you happen to live in one of those towns that just happens to be political. And I know that at times some females end up moving and date random people that ain't never even been involved in certain lifestyles, and they have to deal with some of that drama, you know. Because I know a couple of them baby mamas that have moved to Fresno and to other cities, man. And that's what they're dealing with right now. So with that being said, I hope you guys like this video. If you did, man, hit that like, follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Hit that notification. Hit all. As you can see, we back on the E.B.K family. And I hope you guys like this video. Like I said, man, make sure to hit all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next one. And for you youngsters, man, be trucha, man, because this usually happens with the youngsters. They're the ones that are actually still all up in the mix and passing around females, you know. So be trucha, homie, and remember, man, there's plenty out there. There's no need to go to the extreme. for something that there's gonna be plenty of them out there, man. So with all that being said, man, this is your boy Conejo, and we out.